first, the pundits scoffed at the notion that Donald Trump would run for president.
He is obviously never going to be the Republican nominee for president, and he is obviously never going to be a candidate for president.
Not quite so obvious. Then the commentators scoffed at his chances in the 2016 race, but so far the billionaire has stunned some of the self-styled experts. I sat down with him at his Trump Tower office in New York. Donald Trump, welcome.
Thank you.
Now that you're in second place in the polls, Politico runs a story quoting Republicans, including Ari Fleischer, the former Bush White House spokesman, calls you roadside accident. He tarnishes everyone, irresponsible, divisive, hurtful. Does that hurt your feelings?
No, I mean, Ari is somebody that nobody respects, and nobody has any respect for him. I'm surprised you even waste your time quoting him. I'm number two. I'm doing well. I'm going up. And people take me very seriously, and they call me, and they want to meet with me and at the top level of the Republican Party. And frankly, I'm the one that's going to bring back health to the country. I'm going to make America great again. Politicians aren't going to do that. And everybody takes me very seriously.
You are constantly denouncing some journalists who write about you and talk about you. Let me run through it. ABC's Martha Raddatz, unprofessional and biased, you say. NBC's Chuck Todd, a real loser. National Review's Jonah Goldberg, dumb as a rock. Columnist George Will, a total dope. Fox's Charles Krauthammer, a totally overrated clown. I don't think you really believe that. I think that they criticize you, and your instinct, you're like a boxer, is to punch back.
Well, I do punch back. I believe in punching back. But, you know, those are people that I didn't think have treated me fairly. A while ago, they said, he's never going to run. He's never going to run. Then I ran. Then he said, oh, he'll never file his papers. And I filed my papers. Now they don't know what to say. And then all of a sudden, I get these really big poll numbers, and they're really good, although I think they're going to go higher, because I really think people agree with what I'm saying at the border and just agree with me, period. So
is there a payoff for you in picking fights with the not so popular media?
No, it's not a payoff. Look, I like people that treat me well. I don't have to be treated perfectly, and I just want to be treated fairly. They were unfair. They don't call me. They don't mention anything. Martha Raddatz was acting like, oh, this must be a mistake. It must be a mistake. You know, I built a massive company. I've had #1 bestsellers. I've had The Art of the Deal, which is just about the biggest business book of all time. I had tremendous success on television with The Apprentice. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and I was a really good student, and it's one of the hardest schools in the world to get into. And then they treat it like, you know, like, why is he here?
Speaking of The Apprentice, NBC this week announcing it's severing its relationship with you over your comments on Mexican immigrants. First of all, when you hit back at NBC, why did you drag Brian Williams into it?
Well, I think that, you know, they protect Brian Williams, and he went around lying and telling things that weren't so, and I think probably he shouldn't be on, but, you know, that's up to him. I actually think he shouldn't have done it, to be honest. I think he should have gone someplace else, but it was just something that I thought was appropriate. You know, you could bring up other names, too.
Does it tarnish you a bit that this network that you partnered with so successfully over the years now says, you know, it's preserving its dignity by not wanting to do business with you anymore?
Well, they were very unhappy because we had a great season last season with The Apprentice. They had, I think, a 2.4 rating. It was reported we did very, very well. And they were very unhappy when I ran, because when you run, you're not allowed to, as you know, do a show.
Right, of course.
So they were not happy with me, I will tell you that. And then when they saw the last week or two, the poll numbers so strong, you know, they figured, well, I'd run, I'd get out fast and still do the show. When they saw my poll numbers, one of them actually called me and said, wow, you're not getting out anytime soon, are you? And, you know, they renewed The Apprentice.
Right.
This was renewed, and they thought I'd do it. And I can't do that. I want to make the country great again. I can't do that if I'm doing The Apprentice. So they were not thrilled with me.
On the Mexican comments, why not say, maybe I went too far, poor choice of words, or even, I'm sorry?
I don't have to say that. Look, the Mexican border is a sieve. People are pouring through our country, into our country. We don't know who they are, where they are. They come from all over the world, not Mexican. I employ thousands of Mexicans. I've employed over the years many thousands of Mexicans. Right. I love the Mexican people. They're fantastic, and everybody knows that. But in terms of the border, it's a disgrace. Either we have a border or we don't have a country. You know, you can't have a country without borders. And people are coming in, and some of those people, and I read it even yesterday, there was a huge article about the tremendous crime that's taking place. It's like a crime wave. It's one of the most dangerous places on earth. And I bring that up, all of a sudden I'm a bad person.
Bill Maher says you're a Frankenstein monster who never apologizes for every crazy thing you might say.
Well, he also said I'm here to stay, and which was actually interesting. So I brought up the fact that Mexico is killing us on trade, and I mean killing us.
But you use
Ford
words
is
like
open.
rapists.
Well, rapists are coming in. Excuse me, I'll show you an article done
I'm not
by
disputing
Fusion.
it. It's a question of
Of course
tone.
you're not disputing. So if you're not disputing it, why wouldn't I say
Because it's
it?
a question of your tone, and it offended a lot of people.
Excuse me, I read an article yesterday from Fusion, which is owned by Univision,
Right.
as I'm told, and it talked about many of the women that cross the border are being raped. Many of them, a tremendous percentage. They actually said 80%. That's hard to believe it could be 80%. But they said the women coming across the border are raped. This is done by Fusion. It was printed in the Huffington Post, no friend of mine.
Right.
And I use the word rape, and all of a sudden everyone goes crazy. It's at 80% of the women, which is hard to believe, to be honest with you. But there is tremendous. So
I think by and
I can never
large-
apologize, Howard.
Yeah.
I can never apologize for the truth. I don't mind apologizing for things, but I can't apologize for the truth. I said tremendous crime is coming across. Everybody knows that's true, and it's happening all the time.
I
so
think
when
over
I
the
mention
years-
crime, all of a sudden I'm a racist. I'm not a racist. I don't have a racist bone in my body.
I think over the years, the press has been pretty good to you as you've built this reputation as a worldwide deal maker and builder and TV star. I wonder, though, if you're used to the extra kind of intense scrutiny that comes with being a presidential candidate.
I think I am. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been out here for a long time doing this.
What about when people start writing stories about your business background and say, and I know you say you've used the law to reduce your corporate debt, say, well, Trump's casino unit declared bankruptcy several times.
So let me just tell you about that. I made a fortune in Atlantic City. I did fantastically. I left about 7 years ago. And I used the laws just like Leon Black, just like Carl Icahn, just like Henry Kravis, just like Warren Buffett, just like everyone else. But when I use the laws, you're talking about the bankruptcy laws, I use them to my advantage. I'll buy a deal, throw it into bankruptcy immediately, negotiate a great deal, with the banks and everything else. And now when other people do it, they don't mention it. When I do it, they say, oh, he used the bankruptcy laws. So I used the laws. I did a great job. I did a great job. I made a fortune in Atlantic City, but I left, and actually the financial media gave me great credit for timing because I left Atlantic City 7 years ago.
More now of my interview with Donald Trump, beginning with why he hasn't been more critical of a highly controversial Supreme Court decision. Every other Republican presidential candidate has criticized the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage.
Right.
You said the court overreached, and you kind of let it go at that, and I think you were sending a message of tolerance.
Well, it could be tolerance. It could be also like, we have a lot of problems in this country and we have to get back to work. I would have preferred states, making the decision, and I let that be known. But they made the decision, and, most of the candidates, I think, have said they did make the decision. A couple are out there very firmly that we're going to fight it, we're going to this and that. I would have preferred, certainly, if it were made by the states, the decision. I thought maybe that's what would have happened. You never knew. It was like a 50-50 call.
But you're not going to spend a lot of time on this issue.
Look, it's an issue that's been determined by the Supreme Court, and frankly, I'm about jobs. I'm about making the country great. I would have liked to have seen the decision differently. And you have another decision, Obamacare, which is a disaster given to us by John Roberts, who was appointed by Bush, who was pushed by Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush is the one that pushed John Roberts into that position. And when I look at even the most militant on the whole gay rights decision, the most militant people are saying there's nothing you can do because they're talking about constitutional amendments, and then they go on to say that could never happen. So at a certain point, you have to be realistic about it.
What if this gets really personal? I lived here in New York in the early 90s when the tabloids went haywire over your breakup with Ivana and your relationship with Marla Maples. What if this gets dredged up and people say, Trump, he's not a good role model?
Look, everybody knows me. I've had an amazing life. I've built an amazing business. And actually, they said, oh, he'd never say what his business is worth. It's actually a much higher number than the number I gave.
What, you were underestimating your net worth?
Yes, I actually underestimated. In fact, there was a case where in Iowa where the Des Moines Register did a story where I actually said, I have stores that are worth more than Mitt Romney. Jokingly. And the reporter said, can I use that? Because I said off the record.
Right.
I said, I have a store that's, and they said, yes, they actually used it. I said, I don't care, use it. So the next day, they do a story that, oh, Trump exaggerated because they said, well, then they went out and did a value on the store. And the value in the store was many times. It was the Gucci store downstairs.
Well, when you run for president, you're judged
and they
on more
actually
than...
apologized to me, which was sort of an interesting...
When you run for president, everything is fair game. You're judged on more than just your net worth or your business success.
I agree. But I will say this. What this country needs, and I think the reason I am doing well, because I know how to make things better. I know how to make things work. That's what I do. I've taken businesses that are a disaster and I've made them work. And I'll use laws and I'll use all sorts of things, but whatever it takes, I make them work. I make things better, whether it's the Woolman skating rink in Central Park, which was a disaster and I made it phenomenal, or whether it's the golf course in the Bronx that's been under construction perhaps for 31 years. Nobody even knows when it started. And I took it over and got it done almost immediately. And Jack Nicklaus, the great Jack Nicklaus, said maybe without Trump it would have never been built. That's what I do.
But some in the GOP say, well, Trump's going to take up space on that debate stage that could go to someone else who might actually win the presidency.
Well, you know, I think I would have as good a chance right now as anybody for winning, because I think people are tired of politicians. They're all talk, they're no action, and I think that's what's happening.
But as president, you have to deal with other politicians.
Look, I build a great company, go to the best school, do great, #1 bestseller and numerous bestsellers, tremendous success on television. And then I don't belong on the stage with some governor that did a horrible job or some senator that did a horrible job? I mean, explain that to me. Why? Because I'm not a politician? I think people are tired of politicians. I think they're tired of all talk, no action, nothing gets done, whether it's IRS or Benghazi or Hillary's emails. They talk. I'm talking about I'm a conservative Republican. I'm talking about the conservative Republicans, the Republicans. They talk. Oh, great indignation for one day, and then it's all forgotten about. Nothing ever happens.
You've been quoted as saying you have a 10 to maybe 20% chance of success. Not great odds. If this is a business deal, you probably wouldn't do it.
No, it's not great odds. I mean, I don't know what my chances are. Somebody asked me that. I said, I don't know, 10, 20%. I'm not saying it's a lock. But I have something that works. I have the expression, well, I'm going to make our country great again. I'm going to make America great again. I'm going to do something. I'm going to create jobs. I'm going to take jobs back from China. I'm going to take jobs back from Mexico. By the way, Mexico's the new China. Mexico is killing us. What are we doing? We're losing our base. Our GNP think of it, it's less than zero. That means we're getting smaller. And all these other countries are growing like weeds. So
presidents don't run the economy. You know that.
Oh, I think a president has a lot to do with the economy. Absolutely. I mean, the trade deals, this new trade back is a disaster. The president has everything to do with the economy.
He also has to deal with Congress and also has to deal with other heads
Sure,
of state.
and that's part of being a leader. You have to get him to do what you want him to do.
Donald Trump, thanks very much for sitting down with us here in Trump Tower.
Thank you.